Oh, we're on live, huh? Hey. Non-2072 said hello, and so did a friend. Hi, my name is Dan Fox.
And I'm Brooks Witter.
We are going to dig into cognitive behavior therapy, what it's all about, and...
Sorry about that. Just trying to play my next video on me. Aaron Beck, his therapy was very similar to Ellis's, but has been widely used for depression, because with the cognitive therapists, they help clients recognize the negative thoughts and errors in logic, is the word that Aaron Beck used. They also guide clients to question and challenge their own thoughts and behaviors, and try new interpretations or different ways of looking at things, especially things that go on in their daily lives. With Aaron Beck believes a person's reaction to specific upsetting thoughts may contribute abnormally, because as we confront many situations in life, things do come up. Even if it's comforting, if it's upsetting, all these thoughts do come in our heads during therapy. And with Beck, he calls these unbidden cognitions automatic thoughts. When things happen, whether we realize it or not, everyone has an automatic thought or an automatic belief of the situation and why things went that way. It's just the way, humans are. And whether it be negative or positive, in every situation, we all have automatic thoughts. Aaron Beck also believed that depression-prone individuals develop a negative self-image of themselves. They possess a set of beliefs and expectations about themselves that are essentially negative. Beck claimed also that the negative schemas may be acquired in childhood as a result of a traumatic event, like experiences that might contribute to negative schemas include a death of a parent, a death of a sibling, parental rejection, criticism, overprotection, neglect or abuse, bullying at school, or even exclusion from a peer group. Many things come up when we're kids that, we may not realize at the time, but it does shape who we are as adults. And with adolescents, you see this often, that a lot of times something traumatic happened around the same time that they started using, and as a result, they used to, to ease their pain or to get them out of situations. Beck identifies a number of illogical thinking processes or distortions of thought and processes. Arbitrary interference or drawing conclusions on the basis of sufficient or irrelevant evidence. For example, thinking you are worthless because an open-air concert you are going to see has been rained off. Or it just means when things don't go your way, a lot of times we as humans, and especially kids or adolescents, when things go wrong, even if it's not their fault or nothing they can actually change or be in charge of or even think about controlling, they think they're worthless because of things that don't happen the way they should. Some other errors in logic are magnification or exaggerating the importance of undesirable events. Minimalization or underplaying the significance of an event. Sometimes a lot of kids, it's no big deal. Getting in trouble is no big deal. Being in detention, it's no big deal. But when they actually get used to you and able to talk to you, they realize that, some of the choices that they've made are a pretty big deal, and the consequences they're facing if they don't complete treatment are a very big deal to not only them but the people around them. Here is the example of CBT. This is our demonstration video.
So just talking about branding, when we talk about why, when it comes to branding, I think
bread and butter of all psychotherapeutic modalities. This is because it's one of the few empirically valid talk therapeutic practices proven in clinical trials to effectively treat depression and anxiety. Certain fundamental aspects of CBT have been identified in various ancient philosophical traditions, particularly in Stoicism. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus believed that logic could be used to identify and discard false beliefs that lead to destructive emotions. This influenced the way modern CBT therapists identify cognitive distortions that contribute to depression and anxiety. CBT was originated from Aaron Beck in cognitive therapy, which was later developed into CBT, and Albert Ellis, who created rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, and came up with the ABC method. Let's look at an example of this, starting with the activating event. Let's say your girlfriend tells you to put the toilet seat down. A lot of people know this scenario. After the event occurs, it goes through our filter of perceptive beliefs, where we add subjective meaning to the event with our thoughts. A lot of guys would have an error in thinking and take it personal by saying something like, "She thinks I'm lazy." Then the resulting emotion would be anger, and you saying something like, "Why the hell should I? She's such a nag." Then finally, the resulting behavior would probably be a fight. Beck emphasized the importance of two people having drastically different thoughts about similar events based on our beliefs and the way we see the world. Therapists attempt to make the client aware of these negative thoughts or cognitive errors. One technique is to challenge them by simply reframing them. Let's look at a couple more of these beliefs that don't coincide with reality. Let's say one morning you wake up to birds chirping and you're angry. You're angry because you don't want to go to work. Then later that day, it begins to rain, and you just can't help but complain about that too. But what if you got a full night's sleep, and the first thing you did in the morning was realize how grateful you are to have another day to experience life? And then when it inevitably rains later that day, it reminds you of your childhood stomping in puddles, and you think to yourself, this is awesome. Humans are very emotional creatures. We make decisions and perceive our world based off how we feel in the moment. Major companies know this, so they market to people's emotions rather than their logic. We see the world through the lens of our emotions. This is known as a mental filter or emotional reasoning. We also tend to make assumptions about how good we are at something or about how an event will go based on previous similar events. However, when reality goes against our expectations, we become sad, angry, and depressed. These assumptions are known as jumping to conclusions. Have you ever been late to work, and while you're rushing there you think, oh my gosh, my boss is going to get mad at me, he's going to yell at me, and I'm going to get fired, and I'll probably end up homeless on the streets. People who do this exaggerate the importance of problems, shortcomings, and minor annoyances. This is known as magnification or catastrophizing, where we think of the worst possible outcome in a given situation. CBT works because it makes our oftentimes unaware internal processes and habitual behaviors noticeable. And it shows you that each of these processes are all connected to each other. However, there is one criticism that I want to point out to you about CBT. Recent research by Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the book Happiness Hypothesis, says that our emotions actually are the old software that has been developing for thousands and thousands of years. And our higher cognitive part of the brain in the frontal part of the lobes is like the new software. So in reality, what really happens is an activating event occurs, we always experience the emotion first. Then our cognitive process comes in like a little lawyer to explain that said emotion. We may not be able to control how something makes us feel at first, but we can choose how to think and act on those feelings. Let me know in the comments below what cognitive error you guys fall for most. And as always, thanks for watching.
That just gets a little bit clear under a clearer view of what actually CBT is. Some of the strengths of CBT is it has made a great appeal because it focuses on human thought. Human cognitive abilities has been responsible for many accomplishments, so may also be responsible for our problems. Cognitive theories lend themselves to testing. When experimental subjects are manipulated into adapting unpleasant assumptions or thoughts, they become more anxious and depressed. That's one of the negative effects. Many people with psychological disorders, particularly depressive and anxiety and sexual disorders, have been found to display maladaptive assumptions and thoughts. So when you can actually look at their ideas, their thoughts, behaviors, assumptions, and challenge those beliefs, having worked with depression and anxiety, it can be confronted and looked at different and hopefully help them. Cognitive behavioral therapy has also been effective for treating depression and moderately effective for anxiety. Looking at, I think one of the big things with cognitive behavioral therapy is looking at all the areas that it can cover. If you just worry about, thoughts, then you're not going to really change anything because the thoughts and behaviors and everything goes together. So you're also looking at behavior, your thinking, the way you act, the way you see the world, and you put all that together, I think it makes for an effective treatment. It also challenges irrational thoughts. You can also give homework outside of sessions to practice with their coping skills that they have learned. I also do this with our kids, even though they're inpatient, because, they live in an environment with other teenage, especially girls and guys, that they get to practice their coping skills quite a bit because you put all the different beliefs and just personalities and environments together. Sometimes there is a lot of tension, so to be able to have them practice those coping skills here, hopefully it'll strengthen them for when they do get home and actually get out into their own environment. CBT can also be done in groups and is useful for strategies that can be introduced into the client's everyday life. Some of the limitations, a lot of times in 1981 they did a study of a group of participants before any of them became depressed and found that those who later became depressed were no more likely to have negative thoughts than those who did develop depression. This suggests that hopelessness and negative thinking may be the result of depression rather than the cause of it. So even though CBT does work for a lot of people in some situations, and for some people it may not work for them. Some people think that cognitive model is too narrow, and thinking is just one part of the human functioning. Broader issues need to be addressed. Ethical issues, rational emotive therapy is also directive therapy aimed at challenging cognition, sometimes quite forcefully. For some people, this is considered an unethical approach. On that, I think a lot of times it has to do with the person doing it, the therapist that's doing it. You don't have to be forceful when you change cognitions. You just have to be able to give suggestions and let the client decide whether they want to pick up those suggestions and use them or not. And there's my references if you need any more things or any more information. And that's all I have. Thank you.